Hey friends, welcome to another Foodie Friday on the Alive and Social Network with your host BT. My daughter Lydia is absent from the program today. She'd be the one with the usual taglines and the ebullient charm that you've come to expect from Foodie Friday. I'm kind of a stick in the mud old guy. You know, I do my best, you know, but when you've got the 25-year-old factor in the room, it just adds some charm and grace that, you know, I can't even hope to rise to that level. So I'll just do my best. You know, I'm going to slog through it. I'll do my best. I'll turn up the Turner charm, as they call it, and see, you know, if, like Spinal Tap, we can take it from 10 maybe to 11. How does that sound? Maybe to 11? Ryan Gaska's here from Franklin Campfire Smores. I said those three words really slowly because they all invoke a lot of good things. You know, I don't know where's the Franklin come from? Is it just a cool word that you thought would be very American maybe, or just have a good, homey feel to it?
Right. Yeah. Thanks for having me. I actually lived on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis.
That's great.
And I wanted to open up a pizza shop called Franklin's.
Yeah.
I just thought it would be great. You know?
And in that neighborhood, you hope?
That's
to
what
do
I
it?
wanted to do. Yeah, but that didn't pan out, and now here I'm selling s'mores.
You're selling s'mores out of a trailer. You know, we try and I just made it sound kind of lame, but it's not, because we try to explore all avenues of the food world here on Foodie Friday, and the food truck and food trailer thing has been a huge part of the narrative, you know, in our community and on the show here. So, you know, we'll dive into the story behind Franklin's Campfire S'mores and learn a little bit more about what you've been doing in the business as well. Michael Larson is here. He's the owner, co-owner, and the brainchild behind Perella, the new very Italian restaurant opening in Calhoun Square. Michael, good to have you here, man.
Thanks for having me.
A real pleasure to see you. Yeah, I know Braden. I see you right there. Yeah, you're down at the end of the line. Yeah, okay. It's all right. Thank you, though. I appreciate you. Braden was helping direct me on my notes there. Hey, now don't forget me. I'm at the top. See, you're at the top of the list on the notes.
Well, right, but
you're down at the bottom there.
Right.
Is where you're going to be in the.
That's fine.
You know, let me start the show over. All right. Welcome to Foodie Friday on the Alive and Social Network. My guests are the amazing Braden Dickey and a guy named Michael Larson and Ryan Gaska.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Sounds like a
That was
perfect beginning.
Thank you.
And good to have you, all three of you here. Braden's here too because you guys are working together at Tinto, Cucina, and Cantina, but also Braden's followed you, Ryan, on some of these adventures with the Franklin Campfire S'mores trailer, and so we'll dive into a little bit of that. And Michael, you're here, as I mentioned, you know, representing Perella, your new shop in Calhoun Square. It's probably one of the most, would you say, arguably one of the most iconic locations, you know, in kind of all of the Twin Cities, or certainly a large swath of the Twin Cities food scene. It's the old Filio spot that I think when I say that, most people will remember it from that.
That's right. But we are not Filio.
Oh, you are by no means Filio. No. Dude, what was the thing that happened? See, it's these restaurants come and go, and if they don't stick, you know, like Filio obviously did for years, like Perella will for years to come. What was the in-between thing that was there before you guys moved in? Because I can't even remember it now.
Il Gatto. Well, you know, restaurants are a lot of art and science.
This is true.
And the science got in the way, if you will, for the last two concepts.
There were two of them in there?
There were two. So I was, you know, I've done a lot of good things, and one of the bad things I've done is I convinced, when I was part of Parasoli, I convinced my old boss to close Filio. That was my idea. So it's kind of funny that
It's a long-range plan to take over the space. Perfect.
Wow.
My evil plan.
Yeah. Did you have minions surrounding you saying,
"Yeah, boss, that's a great idea. Hey, go tell him to close down that legend. Go."
It's embarrassing, but it could be a good thing.
Yeah.
But the problem is when Calhoun Square used to be so cool, so iconic, so great.
It was a meeting spot unlike others. Yeah,
exactly. And then it started being sold and resold and resold, and everybody's rent shot up, and no one could afford to do anything there. And all of a sudden, to have a restaurant in that space, you need to do huge volume, and Il Gatto couldn't do it. And so that's why Parasoli went away from Il Gatto.
Got the heck out of there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Prime Bar came in, and that was a whole disaster unto itself. And Prime Bar went away.
Was that sort of a national thing, as I remember, or pseudo-national, or more of a Cheney kind of thing?
Exactly. They came in, they gave it a little shot. They didn't have the volume they wanted right away, so they just walked away. From what I gather, I don't know the details.
All right.
Yeah. old friend of mine, Stuart Ackerberg, bought Calhoun Square last fall. He and I talked, and
Real estate developer guy,
Yes.
yep, and
Yeah.
does a lot of those kind of spaces.
he
Yeah.
does so
Yeah.
many spaces. He's
Yeah.
so good at it.
Yeah.
And he said,
Well-known guy, you know, well-respected guy in the industry. Absolutely.
and he was going to turn everything back into retail space, thinking that the restaurants have gone away, and said, "What do you think? Let's give it a shot." And I said, "Sounds good. Let's do it." I mean, it's really it's that simple.
Yeah.
Much better business deal than the last restaurants had. So our chance for success, hopefully, is a little easier.
Yeah, good
little,
for you.
A little easier nut to crack.
You know, my friends John and Jenny Lillidahl, when they first bought the Brave New Workshop Theater from Dudley Riggs, the legendary comedy satire theater, you know, the oldest, longest running comedy satire theater company in America, you know, continuously running theater company of its kind in America. And they thought the same sort of thing could happen with their deal. So they moved into Calhoun Square
Right.
for a pretty good stretch. It wasn't super long because it wasn't the same. You know, the rent, you know, pretty considerable.
Yeah.
You're going to have to put, as you said, volume units in the restaurant world. You're going to have to put a lot of butts in seats, you know, and sell, you know, some beers and cokes and popcorn and you know, whatever else you can sell in an environment like that. And then make the number work, and it didn't. So they were there for a while and built out and did their thing, and still held on to the old building, the original building, and then you know, eventually moved back to there and operated out of there for many years. Now they've got the whole thing in downtown Minneapolis, where Hay City Theater used to be, and that's a whole different experience for them because it's an event space as well. And they knew, you know, if you're going to do something like that, they learned you better own the building. You know, you better be your own landlord on that deal.
Yeah.
So you and Ackerberg work it out, and you guys go, and you guys go,
And we go.
and you go. I think it's cool that some of the things that were a part of the Filio legend lasted through the two other restaurants that were in there, El Gato and Prime, and that it's still there for you guys to use. I speak specifically of that wood burning oven. That
Yeah.
thing. I mean, people so remember so many dishes coming out of that oven in the Filio days, and now you're rejiggering it for your deal.
That oven has a life unto itself. I'm part of an old a Filio. It's called Filio, the Early Year Facebook group, and it's a lot of employees that worked at Filio in the early '80s, and they will post stories about that oven on this Facebook page. It's pretty fun.
Yeah,
But,
just because it has a life and a legend all unto itself.
Yep, first wood burning oven in the Twin Cities.
Wow.
And one of the founders of Parasoleil wrote all the codes that are in the city. And
So that it could be there, yeah,
Exactly,
because you
yeah.
had to have, I'm sure, you know, special permission to get the flue going through the building and have that
Exactly.
insulated and protected and everything there,
Right.
and then it's coming out the roof line of a large building in an urban area like that, not like it's a skyscraper,
Right.
but you know, pretty good chunk of real estate, multi-storied chunk of real estate in an urban setting like that.
fantastic oven, though. Just fantastic. We fired it up for the first time 2 days ago.
Oh God, what
And
an
it was fun.
experience, man!
And I
Did it cough and stuff, or did it like blow smoke out?
I opened. I stuck my
jalopy.
head in a little bit, and I opened the flue. And years of it was like watching Mary Poppins and Dick Van Dyke. You know, just the soot came
Oh,
flying
God,
out.
wow.
No, it was Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh, yeah,
Like, I was
yeah.
covered in soot. I had black shit all over me, and
Yeah.
it was awesome. It was great.
That's the
Big smile.
When chefs, they're usually in the whites and the whole thing. I mean, you know, just so I'm envisioning you like that movie in your chef whites. You were probably wearing jeans and working, but
Yes, I was.
I'm going to have the picture of me though in your chef whites. Everything's nice, clean, pressed. You got the toque on, you know, and then. Well, let's open this rascal up and see what we can do. What do you say, boys? Yeah, go, chef. You know, and the
It's not too far off.
damper
It was-
comes open.
It was good.
And so you fire it up. I mean, did you really fire it up, though, or did you just run some wood in there? Or did you get it up to like 800 degrees, like where you want it for the pizzas and everything? Did you fire it up, chef?
No, we just started small.
Okay.
There's a spot in Calhoun Square.
Baby steps.
There's a spot in Calhoun Square where you can stand and look up through the glass ceiling and see the chimney.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So we just
Yeah,
started a
that's right.
fire, and then we all, as a group, ran into Calhoun Square to look up through the glass
Yeah.
and see if is there smoke coming out? Is it going somewhere?
You're right. Is it white smoke? Do we have a new
Yeah.
pope?
Actually, we made that joke. That's good. That's good. Yeah.
And you did. You could see it, and
Yeah.
you had some smoke coming out
That's
of there.
right.
Do you have to have? I mean, or have you had now because of the you mentioned the soot? So you're gonna have a chimney sweep come in or somebody like that, and just gaff
Yes.
it all out, or clean it all out and make
Absolutely.
sure it's all done,
Yep.
ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's probably sort of a regular thing you got to do with something like
Absolutely.
that too.
Yes, and thankfully, being part of Filio for so long, I'm familiar with how to do it and who to call and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
yeah.
It's
You're
good.
probably the same person too.
It is
huh?
the same person. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Braden Dickey, have you ever opened a flu and had that crap?
I have not.
No, that's
No.
an experience. I mean,
Yeah.
ask Chef here. It's I've had that happen.
Maybe if Michael invite me over to the restaurant, I can give it a shot one of these days here.
Right from here.
Yeah.
You're saying you'd go to Perella for a flu shot.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll be here always. Thank you. Yeah. 2-drink minimum. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Tip your server.
Yeah, and make sure tip them well.
Tip them far enough to get your money back.
There you go. Tip them very well. Tip them far enough. Ryan Gaska, I'm going to dig in with you right now for a second, and then we're going to go into the Foodie Friday 5. We ask the same 5 questions of our foodie friends every week on the show. Yeah, we've broken the ice already, but it kind of helps to break it a little more, gives our listeners a little more insight into each of you as individuals and people in the food world. For you, are you a Minneapolis guy? Did you grow up in this area? Did you move here from elsewhere? I mean, when the whole Franklin adventure began on Franklin Avenue, I mean, was that an urban adventure from you moving in from the suburbs, or give us a little background on you?
Yeah, well, I was raised in St. Paul for the most of my younger years,
And now
then after
the St. Paulites are looking upon you in traitorous and treasonous ways.
Right,
yeah,
probably,
with
yeah,
eyes
yeah,
of
exactly.
vindictiveness and such.
Yeah,
Made your way. Did
exactly.
you use your passport? They're saying. Did
yeah,
you make it
I did.
past the
I
border
did.
guards?
I did. I had to
Yeah.
get a malaria
Right,
shot
yeah.
too, coming over to Minneapolis. I bet I've lived in Minneapolis basically the majority of my life since high school.
Yeah, so grew up as a kid in St. Paul. Yeah, what
yep,
part of St.
yep.
Paul did you grow up?
Highland Park. Highland Park there. Like how I was raised, more of like in a Christian household, is how I ended up going down this road where I'm at now. So, it's kind of a long story short type of thing. If
Let's hear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
I'm interested in
Yeah.
how the pathway of your faith, leads to what's going on here. That's very,
Yeah.
it's very cool.
Well, it was more of my mother pushing that ideology on me of church and God, and we'd go to church every Sunday, and then we would participate every year at the Minnesota State Fair. And what we'd do is we'd volunteer at the church dine hall. It's
Okay.
the Hamlin Church Dine Hall.
Oh,
It's like
yeah.
one of
Well,
the
sure.
famous ones.
Oh,
there.
God, yeah.
It's like right off the main.
No pun
gate.
intended
You
with the
walk
God, yeah
yeah,
part. I'm
right
sorry.
there. You walk in. Perfect. It's location.
Like I said, I'll be here all
location,
week.
right?
Tip
Yeah.
your servers well.
So I worked there ever since I was, I don't know, maybe at least old enough where they'd let you in the kitchen
Yeah.
as a youth.
Yeah.
So, I'm talking.
bussing tables.
Thinking maybe
and,
10, 11, 12 years old. Yeah,
Yeah.
doing all kinds of
Yeah,
stuff. And then they let you in the
sweeping
kitchen.
and-
And then it was just like, making little egg McMuffins out of like a styrofoam cup. That was my job.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I had like the rest of the day off to run around the state fair.
Yeah. You
So-
had breakfast shift.
Yeah, I had breakfast shift. So
Yeah.
it was like getting there at 5 a.m. every day during the state fair. That part I didn't like, but it was kind of cool then to be done.
Yeah.
And then go run around the state fair. And then, that's just kind of how it evolved where eventually in my life, working off and on in restaurants, I thought, I don't want to work really every day.
Yeah.
So I quit my corporate job, and I, one day just kind of woke up and I said, "This was what I should do is work at a state fair, and try to come up with something that the state fair doesn't have."
Yeah.
So it was just literally laying there in bed, and I've been accused of other things of how I came up with my creation, using chemicals of some sort, altering my state of mind. But no, that wasn't the case. I was just waking up.
You weren't hovering over yourself, going, "Wow, man, this is a really great idea," and I've got the munchies like you wouldn't believe. No,
Right.
it wasn't like that.
It wasn't,
All right.
It wasn't. So I just thought of it, and it was kind of the combination of two things where I have friends that my friend Declan and Mickey, we go camping in the Boundary Waters. I replaced a friend mostly because he passed away, and so we go up to the Boundary Waters every year, and we brought up s'mores ready to go. Like we were going to cook them, and through the shuffle of everything, basically, and there's different ways of how we explain the story, but ultimately our ingredients got crushed.
Okay.
And so we made the s'mores basically just melting the chocolate in one of our pans, and then roasting the marshmallows like you normally would.
Right.
And then we were just like, well, just throw the graham crackers over the top of it,
Yeah.
It's like
And roll it in. So you rolled it in the
Yeah.
chocolate. You know?
rolled in the chocolate,
Right.
threw the graham crackers on top.
It's like you got
And
a
then-
s'more on a stick
Yeah,
now. Yeah,
that's exactly how it
and
was.
it's like
So-
State Fair right in front of your face. Yeah.
Yep. We were thought about, well, maybe it should be a bear involved. Like attacked the bag and like ruined it or something like that, or the canoe went over the cliff, but it's the Boundary Waters, it's
There's no
relatively,
cliffs,
yeah,
right?
it's relatively
There are
safe.
bears, but
There
no
are bears,
cliffs.
Yeah,
I think you should add that narrative later.
yeah.
Maybe
we're gonna somehow work.
Maybe
that
if you had
in,
with on the website, if you had the old legend of the Franklin campfire s'mores, and it's all that patina look, and they said, yep, and a bear came after him, and it was the year 1889.
right after I fought him off with the stick,
Ryan-
then I cooked the marshmallow.
Ryan Gaska in a previous life was exploring the Boundary Waters with his friends. Yeah, they were delivering some beaver pelts. You see how we're getting
Right, yeah, totally. We can.
creating it already here.
Anything.
I don't know if they had marshmallows then. I can't remember if they did.
No,
or not.
I don't know, but they are-
Who needs facts when you're creating legend, right?
Yeah.
Who needs that? So, but anyhow, that's how. So you're laying in bed, and then boom, here's the
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, and then I started thinking about, basically I could sell these things on a stick. Because, I mean, it's the idea of the Minnesota State Fair is, one of the biggest and, if not one of the best for food.
Right.
And I was thinking that, everybody's deep frying everything.
Yeah.
And my lifestyle at the time was, I eat relatively healthy. I try to exercise and stuff like that. The crazy thing about marshmallows is that they're fat free.
Yes, this is true.
But I also love my chocolates, so
Yeah.
I've got those two things working against each other. But relatively, pretty tasty.
But
You
chocolate's
put it
still
together,
good for you, and you're not. And this is a deal where you're not eating a large chunk of chocolate. It's a coating of chocolate.
Right. Yeah, it's very thin, so
Yeah.
it's like less than a serving.
Right.
So the idea was then just started thinking about, well, what could I do with this s'more, and how could I make it in a trailer, and then also what other kind of toppings could I do on this? So I started thinking about like all the stuff I like, Oreos. I
Right.
love Oreos.
I like cereals. I like
cereals.
some cereals.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I like cereals.
I like graham
I
crackers, so
like
you got
nuts. I like
that,
all kinds of
yeah,
stuff. I
right.
like fruit. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it just all of a sudden just kind of started like my brain was just working overtime on thinking of everything like that. And that's how I came up with my line of these gourmet s'mores.
Yeah, that sounds delicious. And you brought us some too, and we're gonna dive into them a little bit later. I feel because
That's
I don't
fine.
want my mouth to get long, any more so than it already is.
Right.
But laying in bed and campfire experience on the north, in the Boundary Waters, and
Right.
all of that leads you to the trailer. What did you do in the corporate world that you decided to walk away from, and how long did you do that for?
So I've been in like the financial services industry since 1999, and worked off and on in restaurants, as part time, and before that, and then I left. I worked for Wells Fargo. I was like an investment service rep.
Okay.
Left there after 6 or 7 years. Went to go work for a friend's company. That just didn't work out. That was just for a short time, and then I ended up getting back into the financial services industry after a short stint again being in the restaurants.
Kind of like the Godfather
Yeah.
business, and
Yeah,
and
just
the
kept on
restaurant
sucking back in,
business is too.
Right,
Financial
right.
service. I've heard that from a lot of people. I was a stockbroker for years, and it just drove me crazy. But then, then I did this but then I went back to the brokerage
Right.
firm. It just kept pulling me back.
Yeah.
I just keep trying to get away. But and the same thing happens in the restaurant world.
Yeah.
People do it for a while and think, 12-hour days, 14-hour. I'm on my feet all day, and then they go try something else and. And a year later, it's like, Chef, you got any openings back in the kitchen? I mean, does that you've seen that happen a lot?
All the
haven't you?
time.
I mean,
All the
and
time.
probably a part of your world on a daily basis with people
Absolutely.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the draw and there's a camaraderie, there's a esprit de corps, there's a team thing going on.
You miss the I have a 22-year-old son that graduated college last year, and now he's in a cubicle.
Yeah.
And even though he's doing well, he loves his job. There's part of him that misses being in the restaurant business.
Yeah.
It misses the interaction, the people, the speed, the camaraderie. You just said.
Yeah. Was he working with you?
He did. There was my first restaurant opened 3 years ago, and I had one day where
That was the one in Plymouth.
That was the one in Plymouth.
Eat, shop, and
Eat,
kitchen.
shop, yeah.
Yep. Eat, shop, and kitchen.
And there was one day where my 3 oldest kids were all working there. One was doing
Wow.
dishes, one was hosting, and one was waiting tables. And I was expediting. And I turned around as the other three were all converging right behind me, and I'm like, "This is pretty awesome.
This is neat.
good. It's
Yeah,
cool.
the kids are
None of them
working
want to
it.
do it anymore, but for that one moment, it was awesome.
You had that
awesome.
moment.
Yeah.
I had loved that shop that you had in Plymouth.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that was a great shop. Multiple visits there. I live in New Hope, so it wasn't too far away, and a lot of friends and business associates in the western suburbs. So it was a a really fun happy hour spot.
Yep.
To cut some deals or not, or just to hang out
Right.
with business associates and have a cocktail and catch up and find out what's going on. And then aside from having meals there as well, that's got to just it's your first shop, and then shuttering a shop. It's just. Really share some emotions here because I'm just curious. What's going on in your head, and how do you get to the other side of it? Because you've got a new shop going. It's got to be a set of hurdles to get to get over.
The dry cleaner called me yesterday or 2 days ago and said that if I don't pick up my dry cleaning, they're going to throw it away. And the dry cleaner was in the same strip mall as that restaurant. That restaurant
boy.
was on the end of the strip mall.
Yeah,
And we closed right before Christmas. I haven't been back there, so it's too painful.
yeah.
It's too hard to pull into the parking lot of, everything I'm doing right now I did 3 years ago for that thing.
Yeah.
And you live there, you pound the nails, you screw the screws, you sweep, you mop, you cook, you clean.
Everything. Yeah.
You do everything and then gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's we made a lot of great friends. We have a lot of guests that are still guests. They'll drive all the way to Roseville. One of them's an investor in my new restaurant. So, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And, the old Dr. Seuss quote, let's not be mad that it's gone. Let's be happy that it was here. And I try to stay positive about that. And we got 2 years out of it. But it's painful.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
What so in this case, what caused the closure? I mean, just the numbers weren't working, the volume, or what kind of things were the mitigating circumstances?
It really never did. Having been part of Parasoli for 25 years, you look at Plymouth and you see there's a lot of chain restaurants. And I thought we were going to be similar to what Salute is for Edina
Yep.
or for Grand Avenue. I thought we were going to be the Salute of Plymouth because it was all chains. Then you get out there, and the people of Plymouth didn't want to use it that way. They wanted more of a sports bar feel. And if they get a babysitter, they want to get the hell out of Plymouth. They don't want to stay in Plymouth.
Yeah.
They wanted to leave. So it was the wrong concept. It was the wrong piece of real estate. At the end of the deal, it was a wrong business deal.
Okay.
And lick your wounds, move on.
Yeah,
Let's
and
go.
move on.
Mm-hmm.
And move on you did, because tell us about the Roseville shop.
Digby's. It's a burger and pizza joint.
Yeah.
And it's in Rosedale Mall on the east side of the mall, right by the AMC movie theaters. We share a wall with Granite City. They're our neighbor.
Sure.
And it is.
So it becomes more of a destination because you got a couple of them right next to each
Absolutely.
other there. Yeah.
Yep. There's Granite City does a nice job, and then we're right by Big Bowl, and Big Bowl is you genuflect when you walk by Big Bowl. They really know what they're doing.
Yeah, they do. They got it dialed in.
Every location
Yeah,
they are
is just
they're
churning. Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're the
And
burger.
there's a pretty good margin on noodles.
It's a really good margin on there.
Noodles and breadsticks. You get a pretty good margin going on those.
They get their mall walkers in there for lunchtime. It's, God bless them.
McDonald's made the gazillions of dollars they've made on the margin on soda. That's where they made it. The fries and the soda. Yes. What does it cost for a 12-ounce soda? About a penny and a half or something like that.
It's some crazy 7 cents. Or
Right,
something like that.
right.
Yeah,
So,
it's not much.
so good for you. So pizza, burgers, just basic good stuff for the people of the Roseville
pizza,
area, the
burger,
shoppers
craft
in
beer.
there. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And so, how many lines do you got coming in there with the craft beer stuff too?
20.
Oh, that's a good size. Yeah. A lot of joints. 50, 60. We got them all, but 20 is a nice line on the bar.
20 is good because then you're rotating stuff. You don't have stuff sitting there for a long time.
And you don't always have the same 20. Yeah, you're bringing some
Exactly.
different ones in here and there and sampling some different things, and that gives some variety to the patrons that come in there
Absolutely.
too. So how far along is Digby's now? That's about a year or so.
A little over a year,
Yeah.
16 months, something like that.
And that one's going good.
Very good.
Yeah, nice. So really now we're working on project number 3 for you.
Project 3, yes.
3 for you.
Yeah.
25 years at Parasoli. I mean, you start out at one level and you move your way up the ranks, obviously. So where did it start for you 25 years ago?
Well, if you want to hear the story, it's a good story.
Yeah, let's hear it, because
All right.
that's a long stretch for a single company.
It is.
When we met in the Parasoli offices, and we knew each other, we were acquainted a bit.
Yep.
I was hanging out with Kip Clayton working on some some business with
Right.
the marketing guy there, and you came in and swung in and said hi because your wife Stephanie and I are
Yeah.
good friends. Stephanie March, the food writer for Minneapolis St. Paul Magazine, and a radio person like I am, doing the show with the other Stephanie on FM 107
Right.
on Saturdays. And so you poked your head in, and said hey, and we saw each other, and then I got a little backfill from our friend John Mihailov, whose dad is one of the co-owners of the restaurant group,
Right.
and you were like sort of keeping an eye on the numbers and the buying for all of the restaurants. Wasn't that the deal at that time? Then that sort of deal. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, so let me go back a little
Yeah.
further.
Okay,
So,
you started, but that's where we met, though. I just wanted to kind of paint that picture. Yeah.
As a kid, I played sports as a kid, baseball, hockey, football, and I was self-aware. I've always been self-aware of what I'm good at, what I'm not, and I knew my athletic career was coming to an end in high school. And
Self-aware. Yeah,
that's right. So,
yeah, I knew mine was 8th grade. Actually, I'm going to become a choir and theater wuss from here on out, and it's the performance world has worked out pretty well for me.
and the restaurant world
I still
worked
like
out
throwing
for
the
me.
football. Don't get me wrong, but there you go. The restaurant thing has worked out for
I have
you.
a hockey game tonight. I still
Yeah,
play,
yeah,
just
there
at a
you go.
different level,
Right, right.
than everybody else. But a tornado went through the town of Hugo, Minnesota, in 1982 on the 4th of July. The next day, and I was a cook at the little restaurant in town. The next day, I got just pounded at work. Just one of those shifts where restaurant people have nightmares about these kinds of shifts. But it was great. I rode home. I was so excited. I told my mom and dad, "This is what I want to do."
Which restaurant in Hugo? The joint that burned down a couple of years ago?
No.
I can't remember the name of
No,
it.
it was
but
called Paul's Pizza.
Okay.
And Paul's Pizza, I bet it had 10 different owners in the 25 years that it was there. Now it's a little strip mall. But
Okay.
but it was the Italian, not Italian, Italian American. And I worked the grill and did breakfast, and it was awesome. I loved it. But that was the day I decided I wanted to be a chef. Went right into culinary school. Graduated from culinary school when I was 19, and got a job at Pronto. And Pronto was in the Hyatt. Opened up in 1981. I
Yeah.
started working there in 1987, and that kind of started my career with Parasoli. Never knew I would be with one company for 25 years.
Yeah.
And started as a pantry cook, and by the time I left, I was a partner, and was VP of operations, and had opened 35 plus restaurants
Right.
in all those years. I used to be corporate chef for Buca.
Yeah, I was going to say you were there for the Buca build-up and everything there. The first one on Harmon Place
That's right.
downtown.
Well,
and
I'll never forget that I was executive chef and general manager at Pronto, and my boss Phil Roberts is the founder of Parasoli. And
Yeah.
Phil came in one day and told me to put 2 pounds of pasta on a plate. He wanted to see what it looked like, and I told him he was nuts. And then it turned into a 100-unit, coast to coast chain.
Right.
I guess he wasn't nuts.
he
So,
kind of had a vision there.
yeah.
Phil is a vision guy, that's
Phil
for
might,
sure.
Phil might know some things.
Yeah.
He's-
Just let me see it. Yeah,
Yeah, it's good. So that was I was very fortunate to have Phil as my mentor for all those years, and Phil is also a very self-aware man. And
He is, yeah.
And we've had some great conversations over the years, and it hit me about 5 years ago as I was coming up and approaching 25 years of working for Phil that I need to probably get ready for my next 25 years.
Yeah.
And Phil and I had a conversation. I told him I was going to start looking, and he said, "Whatever I can do to help,
Yeah.
I'll help." And
Yeah.
and he did, and he was absolutely wonderful, and helped me cut the cord.
Yeah, that sort of mentor-mentee relationship that you had with Phil. You see that, and you foster it too. I bet to this day, because you see that happening in the industry. People helping each other out, and
Yes.
if you need 20 pounds of flour or whatever the case may, be, and you don't have it, and you call a pal who's got literally a competing restaurant, but you're all in
Yeah.
competition with each other essentially. But it's like hey, I'll bring it over, because I know you're probably in the weeds right now. Boom, and away you go.
We're set to open on the 13th, and our tables and chairs are set to be delivered on the 27th. So we have a little gap.
We have a little
And,
problem, Houston.
and-
We have a problem.
And I'm not worried. I know I can go to the friends and neighbors that I have in the restaurant business, and if they have a table or two sitting in their storeroom, they'll let us use it.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody kind of bands together, and rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah, most certainly. So a really great run at Parasoli, not only
Yeah.
in terms of tenure, but growth opportunities for you and career opportunities expanding. And then that was the role you were in, the VP of operations.
Correct.
Yeah. So you're keeping an eye on everything, cost and cost per unit and all that. Everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had a great management team. I was just one of the members of the team, and we worked really well together. And since I left, Randy Stanley was another member of that team, and he broke off and opened Six Smith
Yeah,
just over a
absolutely.
year ago. So, and Randy had a similar relationship with Phil that I did. So Phil helped a couple of us, just a year apart.
And Randy seems to be doing pretty well with
very
Six Smith
well.
out there as well.
Yeah.
That's a nice shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good shop. And I love that rooftop element that they built
Gorgeous.
in out there. Just small little thing, bar up there, little serving area, little
gorgeous.
cooking area. But you look out over the bay there and all the boats and really sweet,
nice.
really sweet. Well, good for both of you guys. Really cool for both of you guys. So now let's find out a little bit more about the guest of honor, Braden Dickey. So you've been working at Tinto for how long, brother?
Since I believe later in the week that they opened.
Yeah. So just
Yeah, pretty much since open.
And did you bring some food service experience with you? I mean, is this
Yeah.
sort of a groove for you too?
Yeah,
Where,
for sure, definitely a niche.
where did it all start out for you?
Well, I guess I started in the food industry at Valley Fair.
Is that right?
Yeah. Started selling
slinging
ices,
dogs, or there you go, selling ices.
and I worked at a little stand called Cool It. So we did slushies, ices, and cold beverages. And then occasionally I would go up to the ice cream stand and work with a buddy of mine and serve ice cream out of there.
Right on.
And then I did pizza the next summer. And
Did you live out in that area? Did you have to hoof it out
Yeah,
there
no,
in the 63 Ford Fairlane, as it were?
yeah, they hired at 14. So me and a group of friends would get our parents to figure out carpool situations
nice.
throughout the week. And
Nice.
we lived in Prior Lake, and so we cruised down there. And it worked out well.
Yeah, not too far a drive. So you got the Valley Fair thing. What's the first real restaurant then that you worked in?
First real restaurant. Let's see. Well, I worked
And
at
don't
Pizza.
say Tinto.
Nope, not Tinto.
I've been selling ices ever since, BT.
Yeah, ices and ice cream, baby. No, I would say, I worked in pizza places for a long time. I worked Papa Murphy's, Papa John's, Devani's,
Okay.
Pizza and Pasta. And then...
You got some volume and churn going
actually,
on.
I
So you
did.
learn a lot.
I did work at Buca for a while out in Eden Prairie, which was a blast. Worked there, and then from there I moved up to Minneapolis. Worked for Burrito Loco in Dinkytown for a few years.
Yeah.
Managed the burrito line down there, and then after that, started bartending and serving, and I was at Sensors in Roseville,
Alrighty.
not too far from you. And then, gosh,
It's kind of nice that you got into the bartending side too, because
Yeah.
it brings a little more breadth of experience
Yeah,
and
for sure.
a different level of customer work,
Yep.
and obviously the mixing of the cocktails has some correlation to the food thing, but
Right.
In your case, it really has.
it's nice to be versatile.
Yeah, and it has a deeper correlation because I know you like to really create cocktails,
Absolutely.
and pair them with in the case of Tinto where you're working now, it's, knowing what's on the menu there,
Yep.
creating some tastes and profiles with the beverage world that's going to match that. What's that drink that I had at Tinto a couple of weeks ago when my wife and daughter Lydia were in there, when Lori and Lydia and I
That
were
was
in
the
there?
Eternal Sunshine.
That was really good. That was tasty. So give us what was the layup on that cocktail again?
I don't know. We were told that we should start selling Pisco sours, and me and Todd, one of the managers there, ordered it, and they sent us not Pisco, but it was a Peruvian white wine that
Okay.
came in a brown liquor form.
Okay.
So we started fooling around with it, and one Friday afternoon came up with it, and we couldn't figure out a name, but I figured it came out kind of an orangey, sunsetty, sunshiny looking drink, and I figured the Eternal Sunshine was a proper name for it.
It was mighty tasty.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I did. It was served in a martini glass. My suggestion was a tall glass on ice.
Absolutely.
That was my only suggestion.
Yeah, you can do it up or on the
yeah,
rocks.
yeah. Boy, I think that would have made a little bit more of a, because I'm a volume guy too.
Sure.
I'm a big fella. I need a little more volume. A martini glass is fine, but I probably would have needed two, and I thought, I'll need two of the big ones. Is what I'm.
I think the
getting.
pint glass is a better way as well.
The pint glass. There you go.
But,
we're talking.
some people like to look fancy and have their martini.
Or the pitcher.
Yeah.
The pitcher of the eternal sunshine. You guys have Ryan and Braden had an adventure to Florida with the trailer, with the Franklin Campfire S'mores trailer. I want to dig into that in just a minute. The Foodie Friday, time for the Foodie Friday 5. All right, the same questions every week with our guests. I'm going to start with you, Ryan. Foodie Friday 5. What's the first thing you ever made by yourself in the kitchen that you had to cook?
It's probably macaroni and cheese.
Yep, we've heard that one before.
Literally, I mean,
yeah,
it
the
just,
box.
it is.
Yeah.
I was actually at another restaurant last night, just looking at the menu, staring at the macaroni and cheese, thinking I should order it.
Oh man,
It's
I gotta
one of
have
my-
this. And so let me ask you: was it like a Velveeta mac and cheese, or was it the box mac and cheese?
It was the box.
The box,
It was the
yeah.
box, but I got pretty creative. at
Yeah.
a very
All
early
right,
age.
so now we're
Started throwing
talking.
some tuna in there.
All right.
Make it a casserole.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah. My parents left me my own devices.
Cheesy tuna casserole. Hey, some pimentos in there too.
Right,
Now
yeah,
we're
all
going.
kinds of
Yeah,
stuff.
right on.
Olives, yeah.
Yeah. All right, mac and cheese. Chef Michael Larson, what's the first thing you ever made by yourself in the kitchen that you had to cook?
Squirrel.
Really?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. How old were you?
I was about 12.
Did you bag that bad boy?
So one of my best friends, lifelong friends, we're still friends. He was over. I grew up in the woods in the middle of nowhere.
Where?
And in Big Marine Lake. So I'm right on the St. Croix.
Yeah.
And used to get the Outdoor Life magazines as a kid. And called my dad and said, "Dad, can I use the 22?" And he said, "Sure."
Sure. Be safe, son.
What are you going to do? I'm going to
Sure.
shoot a squirrel. Then what are you going to do? Well, we're going to call Mom and ask her how to cook it. So we shot a couple squirrels, figured out how to clean them, and between the recipe and Outdoor Life and calling my mom about 14 times.
Was she
her
at work
job.
that day?
Yep.
Or yeah, what
Yep.
was she doing?
And,
I mean, what was she doing for work? Like you could interrupt her a lot, sort
She
of
looked-
job,
she-
or was it
she-
like, son, this is the last call you can make right now?
Yeah, I was getting a lot of that. And then I just called her one more time. One more time.
Mom, I just got one more question.
So it was squirrel. Bill and I still joke about that.
That's
It's pretty
great.
damn funny.
So, do you remember the recipe at least in some measure?
A little. It was so simple. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a kid magazine.
Yeah.
It was a pretty simple. Dust it in flour and fry the heck out of it. It was good.
And how did it taste? Did
It was,
you know?
I remember liking it. You know,
Yeah.
I haven't eaten squirrel since. I've eaten
Right.
guinea pig and goat brains and lots of other things.
Right.
But I haven't eaten squirrel since.
No,
then.
no more
Yeah.
squirrel.
No.
Yeah. How's the 22 doing? Do you still got it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, still got that plinker.
Yep.
All right, Braden. First thing you ever made by yourself in the kitchen that you had to cook.
Mine's pretty boring. I think I'd probably have to be chicken noodle soup out of the can.
All right, so that's a little more. That's a little more box mac and cheese, but he
Yeah.
doctored it up, so I gave him credit for that without saying no, that you really had to cook. So I'm going to let Ryan stand, but yours, I need you to go the next step above it. That where it's not
right.
just heating and warming. What did you that you had to cook?
That I had to cook. Probably my own pizza at home.
So again, not where you made the crust and
Yep,
everything.
yep.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember just rolling out. We made the dough.
Right.
Me and my stepmom, I believe it was, made the dough and mixed up some sauce and
Yeah.
whatever toppings
The
we wanted.
toppings on there.
Dad had one half because we had to do a bunch of toppings on one half, but I just wanted cheese, so
There you go.
my half was easy.
Yeah, Dad wanted the imperial.
Exactly.
Yeah, he wanted
Yeah.
the everything,
Yeah,
the combo
absolutely.
plus.
Some
right
cream.
on. Yeah, Dad. Well, Dad's they deserve
deserves
that.
it.
Yeah, they deserve that, and a pitcher of eternal sunshine.
Yeah.
So that's
Yep.
all good.
$20.
Now we do try to demystify the foodie world here on the show, but because the foodie thing embraces a whole lot of stuff, and I think a lot of times people think it's high end or this or that, and it's not. There's just so many facets of the foodie world. But with that being said, sometimes foods are considered, maybe in other people's eyes, something that's a little pretentious. Okay, a little pretentious. So, Ryan Gasco, what's the most pretentious food you crave? I mean, that someone else might look at it and say, "Oh, well, Ryan, isn't
No,
he?
yeah,
Look
I've
at
got
him
this-
with that fancy mac and cheese." No, something
Yeah.
bigger than that.
Yeah,
you know
this
what I'm
is.
getting at.
At 112, they have the steak tartare. I did like that. I go there just to get that.
That's a good dish.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And I never thought I would be like much into like raw
Raw meat,
foods. And,
yeah,
and
especially raw
stuff.
red meat. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sushi's one thing. but
Sushi's the next one
yeah.
that I would say, but yeah, that is the specific item that I go there for.
Oh, good on you, man.
Yeah.
I like a good steak tartare too.
It's
yeah.
a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Get that good cut, and they make it right. It's
You can-
perfect.
you can either get two ways now. They can throw the egg in with it, or
Okay.
they throw the egg over the top.
Oh, I like it. I like
Yeah,
it.
like that.
Chef, what's the most pretentious food you crave?
Probably foie gras.
Yeah, there you go. Not the first time we've heard that answer, and I'm really glad you didn't say squirrel.
No.
I don't know.
Just a strict diet of squirrel, I guess. And
Don't crave it.
Not much pretense in
crave it.
squirrel, and and that's probably you crave it, but you haven't had it since you were 12.
That's right.
I love the foie gras as well, and I'm guessing all manner of it. I mean,
All manner of it.
The like a foie gras slider's good by you, and all these different ways of doing it. Yeah.
So many different ways. I think if I was to talk about it, that makes the people that are, if we're talking pretension, it makes people go, oh,
Yeah, right.
down.
Yeah, chefy stuff going on.
I actually like it poached and sliced, chilled, sliced thin, with a little sorbetto on a homemade graham cracker. Oh,
That sounds delicious.
stuff.
How about you, Braden? The most pretentious food that you crave?
Well, there was a night me and my girlfriend went to the Nightingale. We ordered a couple things off the menu. I wasn't too impressed, and my buddy Micah showed up to bartend and asked if he could get me something. And they brought out the octopus tentacles.
Ooh.
I don't know what the proper terminology for that is in the restaurant world, but that's what they were, and they were absolutely amazing.
They were great, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like them too.
Be on the
So-
menu at Perella.
Okay, I'll be there.
You will have them?
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Octopus
So
in addition to calamari, octopus too?
Yes.
Oh,
So what do you call it?
Delicious.
Do you have a proper name for it?
Octopus.
Perfect.
Octopus
I like it.
tentacle.
All right.
An
Perfect.
Italian polpo.
Then I don't sound like a complete idiot.
This is almost like observing a Laurel and Hardy setup here, because the earnestness in Chef's eyes as he was about to answer was like, oh yeah, here we go, and octopus. Hey Ryan, which person in your life taught you the most about food? Someone at the Hamlin dining hall. Someone was it mom or who was it?
It was
think about it.
it was my parents, my
Was it?
my
Yeah.
mom and my stepfather, who basically raised me. They, stepdad came in at a relatively early age in my life, and he was a produce wholesaler. So every day, all day long, every week, we had the freshest fruit and vegetables.
I imagine,
at
right?
the house. And so
Yeah.
they always made like some great dishes and stuff. And not to probably very close second to the food that I made by myself was my own pizza. And actually, I remember in 4th grade or 5th grade, I did a demonstration of how to make this pizza.
Yeah.
So I made it myself. But,
Yeah.
had a love for pizza and just, making all kinds of, interesting dishes. But yeah, they taught me a lot.
Well, adding a layer to your box mac and cheese with additives. I bet you it sounds like you and Braden have a similar thing. It probably was the pizza that you really actually made on your own, right? I
Right,
mean,
yeah.
as an early food thing where you really
Right.
had to think about it and make it on your
Yeah.
own. Yeah, cool. But both mom and stepdad, they had a lot
they
of stuff
did.
going on.
Yeah, we always had
Teach you a lot of
good
things.
sit-down
Welcome you into the
dinners.
kitchen. Help me out with this, and
Yeah, and eventually it got to the point where it was, you make dinner for us once a week. So
Nice.
I get to pick the dish and
and make
go
it
that way. Yeah,
Yeah, very cool.
Yep.
Up until 18.
Yeah,
living at home until 18.
Yeah.
How about you, Chef Michael? Which person in your life taught you the most about food?
I've mentioned him already, but Phil Roberts.
Is that right? Yeah.
Personally,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
More than take the 10 best chefs I've ever worked with. Phil taught me more.
Tell me about the layers of things that Phil taught you, the parfait of Phil Roberts' wisdom when it comes to food.
The big thing Phil gave to me, small town boy, mom and dad didn't travel. I lived on a lake, so we didn't camp. We didn't do anything.
Because
We
you
just-
lived there.
We
Yeah.
lived there.
You
yeah.
lived in sort of a
Dad-
cabin-like setting, it's a
Dad,
house,
can we go
but-
camping? No, go pitch a tent in the front yard. All right, thanks. Yeah, it's awesome.
Dad, can I use the 22? Yeah, go ahead.
Exactly.
Yep, that
but
sort of
Phil,
boyhood.
Phil got me out of the Twin Cities and made me travel, made me see the rest of the world, made me see the rest of the country, and made me eat in other restaurants. And you learn more by eating out than working alongside of other people. And that's really what Phil gave me. I've been to South America and Asia and all over Europe and all over this country because of Phil.
Yeah.
And just having that guy when I worked for him and I was still in the kitchen, that I could bring a plate of food to, that I thought I was so smart and knew so much about, and he would dissect it and add it. But Phil by far was just so many layers from that guy.
That mentorship really had a lot of bearing for you.
Yep.
How about you, Braden? Which person in your life taught you the most about food?
I don't know if I really have a specific person. I guess we ate pretty simplistically throughout my childhood and teenage years. I just started, once I started in the industry, started working, Buka and all kinds of different restaurants, I just started making stuff, just trying new things. in the kitchen at home.
Yeah, right on.
Just grab ingredients from the grocery store, and if it sounded good, I'd cook it all
So
together.
kind of learning from a bigger sphere of people,
Yeah,
just watching.
just
Hey,
kinda
I saw what
taking-
they did here. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna remember what this. I
Exactly.
saw this sous chef do, or what this person did,
Right.
or I'm asking a question here. I'm gonna try to do that at home.
Yeah, I don't know if it was one person in specific, but just a lot of different people along the way.
Yeah. Cool.
So
Ryan, the smell of this food makes you feel the hungriest. Just the smell.
Pizza.
Pizza.
Yeah. I mean, I live right down the street from Pizza Luce, so I smell it every day, and I'm surprised I'm at 400 pounds.
Yeah. How about you, Michael? The smell, just the smell makes you feel the hungriest.
A wood burning oven or the wood burning smell.
There you
is
go.
what makes me feel.
Well,
the
wow,
hungriest.
this is going to be a hungry experience for you at Perella.
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Bad news.
How about you, Braden?
I'll
the smell
second the
alone.
pizza.
The pizza.
yeah,
The
for
pizza.
sure, definitely. I don't know why.
Yeah,
It's just the
well,
best.
that's not the first time we've again we've heard that answer a lot. We've
It's
heard
not. I was hoping it would be.
I'm so unique. The bread in the oven one for a lot of folks too, and bacon. Just the smell,
Right.
All right. Final question on the Foodie 5. Ryan, what's your guilty pleasure food? Guilty pleasure food.
Geez, I would probably say. I mean, I just love chocolate. I eat it every day.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't go a day without chocolate. That's my problem.
that's a good guilty
So,
pleasure. Yeah, it's probably
that's
your
just it.
your guilty pleasure food
I
right
still
there.
do have my original teeth, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, you're a good brusher and flosser, it would appear. Chef Michael, your guilty pleasure food.
Any kind of hot dog I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Skin
love 'em.
on, skin off, turkey, beef, pork,
Doesn't
chicken,
matter.
mixed up. It doesn't matter.
My son sent me a text after living in New York for 3 years that he had just eaten his first street cart hot dog, and I was so mad at him. Like 3 years. I get off the plane,
Right.
get in the city, and boom.
Boom!
yeah.
I got to have one right away.
Two. You
Two.
gotta go. That's right.
I'm into it too.
That's right.
Mustard only.
Ketchup only.
Ketchup only guy. Ketchup only. Interesting. Braden, what's your guilty pleasure food?
Pizza rolls.
Pizza rolls.
good one. Nice one.
That's a good one. Pizza rolls.
Yeah, not just pizza. I like pizza rolls
Pizza
too.
rolls. That's,
I like to mix it up.
he's all over this.
Crazy.
Pizza rolls. The Geno's ones, or who's ever making them now,
yeah,
right?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Do you bite the opposing corners off and blow out some of the
You
steam
have
and the
to.
heat? And then,
That's the best way to do it. Otherwise, the roof of your
Pizza
mouth
roll
is fried.
technique, right?
right.
Yeah.
You can't continue until
Right.
it cools down,
Oh, I gotta suck on this ice cube for like a half an hour.
which only makes it worse.
Yeah, right. But you gotta do it. You gotta do it.
Yeah.
All right, let's get a little samplage on the Franklin's Campfire S'mores.
Which one do you want first?
Just what, I'm only going to sample one right now. So give me that. Is that a chocolate with chocolate?
It's chocolate with crushed Oreo.
Oh, crushed Oreo. So the Oreo.
Yeah,
That was the
yeah.
first ingredient you mentioned. Well, what can I put on these?
Right.
And you said Oreos.
Yep.
So
Yeah, that was it.
This was kind of one of your first ones here, then.
Yeah, that is, and obviously, there's like you do other variations of it. Throw some caramel or fudge drizzle over it. Kind of just change it up a little bit. Sometimes people actually request it to be half and half. So when we were down at the Florida State Fair, people were asking for half and half.
That's a good s'more. That's a damn good s'more.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Glad you
Chocolate's
liked it.
good. Big marshmallows.
Yep.
Big ass marshmallows.
Right. Yep.
The Oreos are crushed up in a way that really make them adhere.
Yeah.
The chocolate's making it stick.
But you don't want to grind them up or crush them up too much.
No, it's got to be the right amount.
Yeah.
It can't be too fine.
Right.
Can't be too chunky. Good texture there. Plus, there's a little leftover Oreo on the bottom.
That's the point.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Kind of get in there with
Usually
your fingers.
throw
and-
like we usually
lean
use
the
like
bowl
spoons.
back,
Yeah,
right.
and we have like a little paper boat, and so people are literally like they wanted spoons so they could scoop
Right.
up
Yeah,
the
yeah,
remaining
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
The remaining toppings.
I mean, come on, people do it all the time. The bag of Oreos is empty, but what you got are the shards down in the corner of the cellophane. And you're going to tilt your head back and just pour those shards into your open, gaping maw, hanging out in the middle of the kitchen or probably, hopefully, over the sink, but that's what we do. Now the bag is empty. That's what you can only say after you've done that. And that's what you got, a little extra Oreo treat down there. It's delicious.
Awesome.
That's delicious. So the trailer's up here. You do some gigs here, but you think, okay, I'm going to do an adventure to Florida. That's a big. So what was going on down there, and what prompted this cross-country trek with the Franklin Campfire S'mores trailer in tow. You and Braden switching off on the driving duties. I'm guessing we got to make it to Florida. We got a deadline to make. Was it a festival or something? What was the deal?
So after I left my final stint in the financial services world, being tired of helping other people make their millions, I was bent on doing this.
I'm going
to do my thing, and I applied to a bunch of fairs that were the earliest, that were the closest to the time frame that I figured I could have my trailer, everything made, everything put together, have everything just figured out.
Right, dialed in.
Yeah, and the Florida State Fair, which later on I found out that Florida actually has a bunch of different fairs, and they call them not only fairs, but they call them like county, like festivals, which are even bigger than some of their state fairs.
Wow.
I learned a lot on this trip. So the fair went from February 5th through the 16th. So it was just 12 days. And I told Braden, I said, hey, we're in. Let's go.
Yep.
Saddle up, Dickie. Let's go.
Let's
go.
And so I got the trailer all ready, and still was trying to figure out some things on how to make it work. Literally in the truck, driving down there, like calling people, like, we need this.
Well,
still.
yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
Chef Michael. That's going to happen with Perella too, isn't
Absolutely.
it? Like
Yeah.
you already said, you're going to open on one day, and all the chairs and tables are scheduled to be delivered 10 days or so after that. So
Yeah.
you're going to make it up and figure it out and make it happen.
Adapt
And
Pretty
go.
much-
Yeah,
that's pretty much how
that's
it
what you're
was.
doing in
Yeah.
the truck.
Yeah, in the truck. So I had to put a grill top in there in the trailer, and that was going to roast the marshmallows. But I designed like using a metal stand or a rack, so you could hold a bunch of marshmallows and you could just twirl them, and warm them up and brown them.
Sure.
Still didn't. I had a guy that made it the first prototype, and it was just a debacle. And I told him, I'm like, I can't use this.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the truck.
I'm driving
calling
to my
people,
thing, my gig.
I'm calling friends, can you find a location? And finally, it was like a day before the fair opened, and I got a guy to make it in an hour. And he made these two cool racks that, simply
They
when you
worked
look
out
at-
perfect.
They worked out perfect. And you look at them, and you're like, this is exactly what I wanted. I showed
And
him.
he made this for you via telephone conversation.
I did bring in a sketch.
Okay,
I told
all right.
him what I needed.
Got it.
I just told him I need these two pieces held together by this. And he goes, yeah, if you got something that you can show me. And I go, yeah.
Yep.
He looked at it and he goes, oh, I thought it was going to be much more complicated. I can do this in like a half hour. So he was pretty cool.
The clouds parted.
Yeah,
you felt the angels
yeah,
singing.
yeah.
Coming down.
Right.
And,
Yeah. The crazy part about the trip was we left and we stopped in Chicago, and then the next morning it was their big snowstorm, like
18 inches.
18 inches of snow.
Oh God, yeah.
And so we're driving through that.
I remember
and
that
I
one.
was like, oh my God, we're never gonna make it. Like,
But at least you're headed south, right?
Yeah, right.
But there's snow because that Arctic lobe was in your path.
Right,
I remember
yeah.
that storm.
Yeah, it was.
Gulf air is coming up, and it's creating snow in Nashville. It's creating snow, in Atlanta.
God.
And
Nashville was crazy.
Yeah,
right.
And Nashville was crazy too because they were experiencing some crazy weather as well. But yeah, once we got down there, it was like a huge relief. We made it. Like that was my concern,
First off.
not making it there alive, and with the trailer.
Right.
Those two things. And then we had a good time at the fair. It was an interesting fair. It's nothing that you could compare to like the Minnesota State Fair. I mean, it's like almost 2 million people.
Yeah.
They're doing about 300, maybe 400.
Okay.
And
Over the course of all
it's
those days.
Tampa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Tampa. It's our one day total is like 100,000 people at the State Fair.
Yeah,
Minnesota State Fair at least. So. It's Tampa. It's they're struggling economically there, but it was a great experience because then that's how I figured out it all works. Like my grill works, the toppings and everything in the boats.
My new
and
fabricated
everything.
piece
My new
works.
fabricated piece, and
The recipe works. It
yeah,
works with all
yeah.
the gear. I can crank them out in a pretty efficient, quick fashion.
relatively
You gotta
fast.
go. You gotta go.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I discovered it's really just a 2-man operation. That's all you need.
Now, up north here, we know from S'mores. Down Florida way, did they know from S'mores?
I'd say probably 50% of the people did.
Did. Okay, good. Yeah.
Which seems like a decent number, but you come up here, if you find 5 people, out of 100 that don't know what
That
s'mores
don't
are, they're
know.
probably crazy.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
like, you're crazy. You don't know what a s'more is. Like you're that far.
Can I see if you have gills? Are you an alien?
Yeah,
I mean,
right,
what
yeah,
the-
it's
you
just-
don't know from S'mores? I mean, come on.
Check for a pulse. I mean,
Exactly.
Yeah, that was very strange. So, the greatest thing is obviously whenever you make something that's your creation, and you get that compliment, or
Yeah.
they accuse you of being on some stuff, and and you're like, this is the most amazing.
Where they're creating the
thing.
narrative for
yeah,
you.
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
exactly.
Dude, you had to have been blitzed.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
really,
'cause this
like
is
you talked about earlier.
Because you know where their state of mind is right then when they're telling you that. But when they, you get those compliments. I mean, that's really sticks with you and
Yeah.
it excites you to keep going.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like I think why we do it. We love creating these things and making delicious things. For
And so,
people.
where are you trying to take the trailer now? I mean, not Florida, but just around the area here. You trying to
Yeah.
book yourself into as many
Yeah,
festivals and
I
art
mean-
things, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
You know?
That was an expensive adventure, but it was something that was like more of an investment to figure out how it all
Yeah.
works, and
Yeah.
it was the closest thing because obviously the goal is to get into a Minnesota State Fair
Yeah.
or a fair of that caliber.
Or like an Edina Art Fair. I mean, those
Right,
bigger art,
right.
where you got
Right.
some business going,
Yeah,
because you got to do the volume, like Chef Michael mentioned.
Yeah.
You got to do the volume.
I wanted to get the experience in, and it was an adventure. Almost didn't make it back from Florida. Experiencing crazy weather.
Yeah.
In Nashville, they had a nice storm. So it was just-
Who was white knuckling it? You or Braden? Braden, were you behind the wheel then, or
Ryan was.
I was,
Yeah.
I was. So it was interesting, but
For
yeah,
both of you.
Well, we
though, I'm
stayed the
sure.
night there. We pulled in. We're like, oh, we're
Yeah.
gonna have to stay here tonight.
yeah, we're not. Yeah,
I mean, it was nuts.
Yeah, I don't care if it's a Motel 3.5. It's not even a 6.
I don't
We're
want to
pulling
go
in.
Yeah,
We're pulling in.
yeah. It doesn't even have to have numbers.
Looks
on
like
it
the
at this
Bates
point.
Motel. I don't
Right.
care. We're pulling in.
Yeah, and I don't want to move farther away from
Yeah,
this area.
kinda keep it in the
keep
zone.
Keep it in this area because it seems to be more of a regional dialect.
Yeah, and people know from the S'mores.
Right.
Yeah, and Wisconsin and Iowa. I think the Upper Midwest
they
for
all
sure.
know.
Yeah.
It seems to be the case. So.
What's the website if people want to scope out what's going on, or maybe call upon you to bring the S'mores trailer out? Because I bet
Right.
you this sounds like it'd be an ideal sort of wedding thing or special event, corporate event.
Yeah.
I mean,
Speaking
it's-
of, a good buddy of mine growing up is getting married beginning of August, and he just asked us if we'd be able to go out and do the.
nice.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Yep.
I really see
Yeah,
that as a
party.
corporate sort of thing.
Yep,
yeah,
I'm doing a corporate
we got
event as
500
well.
people, and you price it,
Yep.
affordably for them, but you're still making dough, and you know what your
Right.
units are going to be, portions are going to be, and it makes everybody happy.
Yeah, the next one is going to be that wedding and then a corporate event,
Cool.
and then hopefully another festival that's in Northeast. Still trying to figure out those details, and just keep on looking for people that want to have maybe those 1-day fairs or
Yeah.
events, get more of the experience and stuff, and then build it up.
Go to a
That's
search
pretty much
engine,
it,
just
yeah.
put in Franklin Campfire S'mores.
Yeah, or Franklin's S'mores.
Yeah.
It's 2 S's back to back.
Yeah,
so
there
it's
you go.
Franklin's
Franklin's
S'mores.
S'mores. Yeah, sounds good.
Is the website.
Pictures
so,
and
yeah.
other go-to info and everything
Yeah,
there. Yeah,
website, Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah.
The whole thing. I had a friend that set me up with all the marketing and everything. She did a bang up job.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's pretty awesome. And
Good.
that's where you can go for more information or email me or
Good
my
stuff.
phone number's on there, and it talks a little bit more about me as well.
Right on. A little more info about Ryan Gaska.
Yeah.
Always.
Right on.
Yeah.
Good on you. Good on you.
Always,
wanna
always
learn
about
more.
Ryan.
A little more about Ryan. That's okay. I want to close out the show with Chef Michael Larson, and I wanted you to wax in regard to a Facebook post I saw from you just today. I thought it was wonderful. You said, a lot of people crave for the corner office, but you took a shot, and it was sort of a corner of the kitchen at the new shop at Perella, and you're putting it all together there. And the words that you used, as brief as they were in a Facebook post, really said a lot about what we all, I think, know from the restaurant and hospitality industry, that it's just a really great melting pot of so many different people and so many different cultures. And I just want you to expand on that a little bit and share your feelings.
There's something about a kitchen, the sound of a kitchen, the smell of a kitchen, the feel. You've got heat from stoves coming on one side, you've got refrigeration on the other. I mean, all your senses are lit up when you're in the kitchen. There's something about a good kitchen that has people that know how to work in a kitchen and move together, and it's pretty good. And for 3 months, this place has been dusty and dirty, and
soot coming out of the flues, and
it's just been a mess. And to now finally have food in the kitchen, and the employees are in the kitchen, and the workers are out of the way, and there's one guy's cutting fish over here, and there's someone else picking fava beans, and the pastry chef is starting to create her stuff. And there's guys speaking Spanish, guys speaking English. The pastry chef, actually, I could hear her swearing in Vietnamese, and it was just it was just great. The mixer's going, the radio with the Mexican polka is going back in the corner of the kitchen, and it was like this kitchen. I remember the days when it was Filio's kitchen.
Yeah.
And now Filio's long since gone, and now it's Perella.
Yeah.
But there's that same life in the kitchen. I just love it. That's what my office looks at. I love it. I share an office with my controller, and she kicked the door thing out of the way so the door would shut, and I propped that thing open. I'm like, no, I want to
hear this.
Watch,
I want to vibe this.
I want to smell it. I want to hear it. I want to feel it.
Yeah.
It's good.
That's like I bet for a chef that's been doing this for as long as you have, all of those things are just one big sphere of music for you.
They really are.
Yeah,
they really are.
Beautiful, making beautiful music.
It's funny. One of my partners has never been in the restaurant business, and there's things that he doesn't pick up on and hear. You can a person in the restaurant business knows when the hoods went down because the restaurant's too quiet.
Yeah.
And you'll say, "Do you hear that?" And he'll do the "hear what?" Well, that's the point. You're not hearing anything.
Yeah.
Something's wrong.
Yeah. Right.
It's
Or hear the absence of it, as the
Exactly.
case would be.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Good on you, chef.
Thank you.
Congratulations on Digby's, and
Thank you.
much success on Perella. What's the opening date again?
13th of July.
Of July, coming right up.
That's right.
I'm so grateful that, I know you're cranking like 16, 18-hour days here, 40 hours a day. If it was there, you'd be working it.
We would be,
But
yes.
you carved out an hour to join us on Foodie Friday in the midst of it all, and we'll push all this good conversation that we had out to as many friends as we have out
Thank
there.
you.
And
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Have them show up at Calhoun Square coming up here mid-July.
Sounds good. Valet parking.
Get on it, valet parking.
Absolutely.
We love that.
Yeah.
And, if you don't want the valet, you got the convenient ramp that's right there. It's all
That's right.
attached. Life is good. Life is good in Perella world.
Right on.
Ryan, thanks for joining in on the show. Ryan Gaska, thank you, man.
Hey, thank you very much.
Big congrats on everything that you're doing with Franklin Campfire S'mores, and what you're going to be doing with it in the future. And that sounds like a lot of fun. And
Keep you up to date.
tasty
See you
fun.
often. So
Tasty fun, I might add.
it is.
And Braden Dickey, you were a great addition to the show today, man. Some good chat, some good talk about adventures, and
Sure.
and I thank you for being here. And you're and by the way, when you've been my server at Tinto, outstanding work, my friend.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks
And,
for having me.
A real good job on that Eternal Sunshine too. I think I'm
Appreciate
thirsty
it.
for one right now.
Well,
should be
meet
a
you
list.
over there.
Should be a list on the Foodie Friday 5 about what cocktail BT's craving right now, pretense or otherwise. And I could go for one of those fine Mexican or Latin beers that you've got on the docket there. But I think the Eternal Sunshine sounded pretty good on a summer day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't forget that spicy Latino drink that he made too. The shot that
God, I
that's a good
forgot
one.
about that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like I got to tee
That
up a
was
couple
his,
of
so-
cocktails real
Yeah,
quick
you're
here with.
It's game time.
Yeah.
With my pals.
What are you doing after this?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
where we're headed.
We're
so.
heading right over. Braden, thanks again.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Chef Michael, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Foodie Friday, another one behind us on the Alive and Social Network.